currency, which is so well designed and detailed. So there would be a certificate for, you have 30 shares of PG&E stock, and there might be a whole landscape of a PG&E substation with workers, and then ornate, flowery design on the edges. So it's a real document. So they said, you bring them in because we can't have any longer, we cannot have you having your shares, and then you'll say, Bob, please sell 30 shares of my PG&E. So I have to go to the safe, get the PG&E document. Yeah, go into the office downtown and say, okay, here's a certificate, and then he makes the division of stocks and gives me a fresh certificate. So they said, no, this is we can't do this anymore. We're tired of this. So turn them all in. So that's what I regret, because I didn't have a choice. But they were fabulous, you know, turning in these historic documents. And now I just get a report, you know, written out from a computer saying you have this many of this, and that's it. Or it's online or in the clouds. Yeah, I don't want it out there. I want it safe. So I really regret that. But I don't think there was an alternative.
I wonder what they did with all those papers.
Well, sometimes I see them at estate sales and paper shows that I was telling you about, the postcards, and they'll have old ones that are canceled. I don't know how they get them, but I bought a few back because they were so cool. And of course, some were better than others, depending on the artistic team that was designated to do the Bank of America. And maybe the person who did Maytag washing machines, it was kind of mundane, you know, not as exciting.
Yeah.
So the stocks are important, and I'm willing to share more information about that, or if you have questions.
So do you continue to watch and buy and sell in the market now, or are you mostly managing a portfolio that you've had for some time?
Good question. Both. However, what Schwab convinced me to do, not him personally, but his staff, my broker, said, Alex, look, you're doing a good job with what you're doing, but let us take over. He says, because we have access to information that you'll never see. So I thought about it for a week, discussed it with some friends, came back to him and said, okay, I'll give you this much, and I'm going to keep this much. So that's what we did. So now it's managed. I pay a fee, but the experts decide when to sell and buy. And they've been doing pretty well. Again, they have the information I would never see.
Is it possible, and if so, have you compared, let's say, the growth rate between what you were managing on your own and what they're managing now, and what's the difference?
Much better. They have done much better, clearly. I was cocky for a while, a little arrogant, early on in my 30s, thinking, well, I could do this. And I was, you know, pretty well as a layman can do. But now I see what they have access to. And they're the brains of, you know, they're managing, say, $3 billion for a company. So they can take my $5 grand and manage it much better. So I had to finally cop to that reality. And I do recommend the stock market for anyone. And you can start out with $100, $200, and over a lifetime, like for you guys, for example, at your age, by the time you're my age, you could have a sizable portfolio and live off the dividends, or supplement your work income with dividend from PG&E tomorrow, and then 2 weeks from now, Westinghouse issues theirs. So you get money trickling in throughout the year. So that's a plus. It becomes a little difficult at tax time, and I'm facing that problem now. AARP the senior organization was doing free for us at the center. Comes the pandemic, we can't do this anymore. We can't sit with you and do your job. So I'm hunting around for people.
Surely some online help.
Sorry?
Some online.
Well, yes, some online help, but I personally don't want to do it because it's really distasteful.
Yeah.
I would like to get someone to do it but for a reasonable fee. Some people are prone to gouge you to get this done because they know that you don't know anything about it and it's distasteful, and so they're gonna. Like my sister paid $500 a couple of years ago for something that she just didn't want to touch. Someone said, "Well, you can do this much cheaper." She says, "No, I feel the same way. It's distasteful. Anything with the government." I must say that. Paperwork from the government, I really don't want to fool with. I don't know if you feel the same way.
Oh, just your voice keeps dropping.
Sorry.
I'm sorry if it's fatiguing to keep talking about the volume,
no,
but
you're right.
But if you can, just kind of maintain this.
I'm
if that's
actually
all.
surprised because I usually think that I'm,
Like right now.
yeah,
Too
really?
quiet. Yeah. Just a second ago you were there, but
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Well, should we move on to the
Sure.
next one?
You want the next one? Yes.
Other than that, everything is fantastic.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So don't. I mean, just because I'm only pointing that out, don't think that that's the dominant
Sure.
thing.
No,
you guys
no,
are wonderful.
I
Yeah.
appreciate it. It does. It's something that I'm surprised about because I'm always thinking that I'm talking too loud. So it's good to know. The last one seems to be walking.
I will disabuse you of that notion of
Yeah.
yourself.
Yes.
Whatever it takes.
Walking, that started a little bit later in life. In other words, the idea of walking seriously for health, not seeing it as sport or as entertainment, but you must do this for health. And the way this came about is about 10 years ago, my doctor said, you're not getting enough aerobic, and you're doing weightlifting, fine, but you need to do something more aerobic. So I said, well, I don't want to start running because I don't want to hurt myself at this age. But, well, then I was, 65. So I said, I don't want to, so many people get hurt later in life, and it's so hard to recover. Broken bones, for example, at 65 is different than breaking your bone when you're 30.
And the knees.
And the knees,
Yeah,
knees,
cartilage
pressure on
just
the
keeps
on
right.
the ankles, hip joints. Everybody, the senior centers have knees replaced, shoulders replaced, all kinds of body parts. And I don't want to do. I want to do that. Yeah, I don't want to do that. So I followed the advice and I started walking just a couple of miles. I do that religiously. I really do it every day, and if I don't do it, I'm upset. If it's raining, I want to go out, put my slicker on, and go out in the rain, because as distasteful as it is, it's still going to produce the benefit, and keeps your weight in control. It gives you better appetite, better sleep quality. So I'm sold on walking. How is it a hobby? It's a hobby because it's I'm zealously interested in it, and I do it daily, and it is a leisure activity. So I consider it to be my hobby. I never really had a physical, outdoor physical hobby, like, for example, playing sports. I was never a sports person. Still am not. So I had to find something else. And walking is so natural, it's so easy to do, and rewarding. So I think that covers.
And that's how we met.
Earlier on your list, the finding.
Finding stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think that's an important part of the walking.
Yes. Well, that is new, Elizabeth, especially the finding sticks and that we have, and that came about in our meeting in August. And I'll explain what that is for everyone. We decided that we needed some way to find sea glass and shells. Sometimes in the surf you can't reach in, you don't want to get wet, so you have your stick to sort of poke and prod things out of the surf. And so then I started designing colorful designs, tribal designs on the sticks, and then presented one to Lady Elizabeth. I hope you still have yours.
I certainly do.
All right, and if it needs any touching up, let me know, because sometimes the elements get to it. But it's become an important thing. I still take it usually every day, and it's a helpful item in many ways because it serves as a cane. And if it's wet and slippery, you've got a way of stabilizing yourself. Again, you don't want to fall. You really want to avoid falling as you age. And it's so many times people fall at an advanced age, and it's the beginning of a serious decline. You never seem to recover, or maybe you get a concussion, or maybe you get broken bones. So it's something that you don't want to do. Anyway, that covers the stick idea. But mainly, it has a productive value in that you can pick up the items that you find.
You can tap them.
Tap them, yes, that's right. Tap them first of all, see if they're
Test
worthy.
what it is, yeah.
And then, for example, if you find a crab shell, which I collect for painting, one tap on the crab back, and it may break up. And then you know, well, that's certainly not one that I'm going to keep. It's got to have some stability and strength to it. So those are the hobbies, and of course there have been more. And as time goes on, interests change, and I find that I maybe no longer so involved with that. For example, wines was on my list. I know a lot about wines, particularly Italian ones, and I love them, but they're priced out of range. I don't want to spend $60 for a Barolo, even though it's really precious. So I sort of kick back. I used to have a 300 bottle wine cellar. I just did away with it over time because it was too costly. Too costly, and I was always afraid of breakage, and I never had any control for temperature, and it was kind of cool in that cellar. It's right near the catacombs, so so I decided no. But my dad got me started. He was a wine connoisseur. He built a collection of wines, and so it became something that a lot of his hobbies became wine, and I didn't realize that. As it was happening, it didn't occur to me that, hey, Dad, he did all these things. But I'd say a great number of the interests that I still have come from his example.
Opera too?
Opera too,
classical music,
way
yeah.
before meeting Leslie.
Right.
Yeah, and it was in her family before she started her career, and it was in mine. My father, when he was about 18 years old, was actually the first disc jockey in North Beach at Cavalli Cafe, which exists near the B of A. And at Cavalli Cafe, he would broadcast the RCA Victor, Enrico Caruso records from the window. People passing by, Italians passing by, would comment. He would talk to them. And on Saturdays, that's what he did. So then he amassed a great collection, which I still have. And again, we can look at some of those sometime. If you're interested.
Something I'd love to do is to go through, walk with you through North Beach.
Yes.
And film
that'd
you
be fun.
and have you point out these things to us.
Yeah.
Because it's been so long.
Right.
Kind of like when we walked through the pier out there.
Yeah.
And the way that,
Yeah.
you know, I mean,
Stories.
however long ago these things were discontinued, you could be living here a long time and have no idea about this stuff.
Exactly.
And it's so interesting.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. I love to.
Well, because I used to live across the street
The
from.
pier.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah.
You're saying?
Yeah, they were refreshing.
Yeah.
And the lights were all working at night, so it was okay to go out and stroll in much in the same way you would do in Europe.
Yeah.
What they call the passeggiato. You walk through and meet your friends. You know, teenagers meet their friends. Old timers meet their cronies.
You say cronies?
Yeah. and
So you get old enough, you have cronies. You're young, you have friends. You're old, you have cronies. Okay.
and as my dad would say, you take the missus with you. And so my mom Rosie would get to go, but you'd be all dressed formal. And when you went downtown, the women would wear gloves and hats, veils, to go to the Emporium. It was a big event, and the Emporium was pristine. It was just a fabulous store, nothing like it. and no homeless, nothing in the way. You take the cable car down. It's very safe to walk Market Street midnight.
Wow.
Safe
Wow. Yeah.
without getting killed.
Just the words "safe" and Market Street in the same sentence is a wow.
I know. Yeah. By the way, that woman who was beaten up, you heard about this Chinese woman. She was on Market Street selling food or something. This homeless guy or drug addict hits her, beats her up, and she fights back.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she fought back, and then you can see her on tape. She's yelling and screaming and angry as hell. They set up a GoFundMe. Thousands of dollars are pouring into this woman from foreign countries. Money's coming in. People were so moved by her story. So
Is she alright?
I don't know.
Yeah.
She was hit pretty badly, bleeding and stuff. But hopefully this little treasure trove of money will help her a great deal. Maybe stop having to be on the corners and sell food.
Yeah.
Yeah, horrible. We're not rolling.
Oh, I haven't stopped us, but I mean.
Oh, really?
We don't have to, you know.
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
can cut some.
if there's anything at all that you don't want to have included, of course, you know, you can
Yeah.
go through. You can kind of say yay or nay to anything you want on this.
There is one thing that occurred to me I wanted to mention.
Would you like me to
I talked.
cut it or?
Oh,
Keep going, I think.
Okay.
Right.
no, cut it.
Okay. Okay.